Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what a strange, bizarro world I'm living in right now with everything going on and everyone running around. But hi, welcome to this latest edition of Poetic License. You guys are triple plus awesome for showing up, you guys. We just watched the Bears win, which you guys don't care. The Steelers are playing tonight. And hey, oh, John's got a second one. I see two different views from... And I'm hearing echoes from somebody. Can somebody mute themselves? I see Lorna and Tom and Therese. And it's all echoing back at me. If one of you guys would mute, yeah, I see. Yay! It is accomplished, and hopefully John F. McMullen on his iPad will get him in here somehow, somewhere. We're going to do this. But thank you all for showing up for this latest installment of Poetic License. I have to show the signs. I have to, because back in the day we actually had signs for things when we were in a bookstore. I don't know, it's a goofy thing, so why not? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for showing up so much. I've got so much stuff I wanted to share with you that I am going to read just one poem in this first round for the latest issue of cc&d magazine. It is titled Before Locked Doors, and it's got a shot from Pompeii in it. And when I did this, my husband looked at it and he's like, oh my gosh, it really looks 3D. Like you're totally going in. You've got the bar over the top and you're like sucking you into the issue, which I thought was kind of cool. Wasn't my intention, but I hope that other people will appreciate it. As I said, they're named after accepted titles in the book. There are two long poems of mine here, and I am just going to share one of them because I'm not going to make you guys listen to lots of really long pieces, but I figured I'd give you something that is not only in this book, but it is also, oh my gosh, where is my copy of, I'd have to get my book, which I'm going to, of The Universe is in Your Hands. This is a book, a poem that I'm sharing with you that is represented for Texas. And let me grab a copy of this book for you guys. I know you can see me walking around my library. I don't have a copy of the book. I must get it here for you guys. Not only is it in cc&d magazine, but it's also in the brand new, newly released issue from TUiiYH, The Universe is in Your Hands, which I believe Ron already has a copy of, but TUiiYH released it as a digest-sized book, and I said, that's kind of crazy, so since I did a lot of the design work, I re-released them at 6x9 at a 12-point size. All three of them are available if you look at janetkuipers.com if you wanted to see the kind of book that you would like to get. But this is all about location stuff, and I have one in this book that is referencing Texas, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And I hope you like it, and there are no images for it. Actually, there might be one. I'd have to see. No, I didn't get it in there yet. This is something that I actually read when I was in Chicago at one of my readings, representing Texas for The Universe is in Your Hands, and it is titled 50 Years of Freedom and Independence. And for my women out there, I hope you guys appreciate it too. This is a Texas poem. On the 22nd of January in 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled 7-2 that unduly restrictive state regulations on abortion is unconstitutional. State statutes criminalizing abortion violated a constitutional right to privacy, implicit in the Liberty Clause of the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. What I wanted to point out to you is that a Texas woman was forced into these restrictions, and the Supreme Court agreed that the state could not intervene with first, and in many cases, second trimester abortions, or abortions where a woman's life is in danger. 50 plus years ago, a woman protested Texas's repressive laws against women, and won. So, in Texas, they tried to repress women's rights. On January 22nd, 1973, a trial started by a woman in Texas and gave women some of their rights back. In 1992, a Supreme Court made it clear that restrictions on abortions are unconstitutional when placing an undue burden on the person seeking an abortion before the fetus is viable. The court even said in 2020 that a Louisiana statute, which was almost identical to Texas's 1970s attempts, was also unconstitutional. But in 2018, Mississippi state law banning most abortions was passed in the hopes that the Supreme Court, approaching 50 years later with conservative justices, might overturn Roe v. Wade with Dobbs v. Jackson. which was only about whether bans on all pre-viability abortions are unconstitutional. In February 2022, a leak from a majority opinions from Justice Samuel Alito wrote the court had voted to uphold the Mississippi law and overturn Roe v. Wade by June of 2022. Now, it's been over 50 years, and women thought we gained these rights, but how far have we really come, baby? As some now think a clump of non-viable cells is a baby, and women are now slaves of the state again. After the passing of Roe v. Wade on 1/22/73, it wasn't destroyed on my birthday, 6/22/22, but on 6/24/22, when Dobbs v. Jackson was passed, overturning Roe v. Wade. As soon as it was passed, 11 states' trigger laws restricted or banned abortions immediately after the elimination of Roe v. Wade and the subsequent banning of women's rights. Wade recognized that the decision whether to continue or end a pregnancy belongs to the individual, not the government. But it's the government's choice now, not yours. Thank you to those states who want to take away the rights of the individual, the living, breathing individual, to give a clump of cells no larger than a paperclip these rights. In these states, so much for the raped 10-year-old girl who, after this trauma, can't have an abortion in her state. Or, oh well, to the woman, even after doctors declare a fetus inside her is non-viable, doctors still can't remove it. And when the woman has a miscarriage later at home on 9/22/23, she's actually charged with a felony. Here in Texas and all these southern-leaning and once slave-supporting states, their loathing of all womankind has never changed. Over 50 years ago, women fought to gain some of their rights back in Texas, and they won. But conservative hatred fermented so long, it took them half a century to find justices who would so ignore the law. The Constitution's 9th Amendment spells our rights out. Quote, "The enumeration of the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people." They spell it out in the 14th Amendment's Due Process Clause that your fundamental rights are not specifically enumerated elsewhere in the Constitution, including the right to marry, the right to use contraception, and the right to an abortion. But why worry about the law in multiple places when in the U.S. Constitution, when your desire to thwart women's rights has been denied you for so long that your percolating hatred finally explodes? I have worked to help protect women for over half my life. I have helped people after rape, violence, and abuse, but for even longer, we've kept that gushy, deep in our heart feeling that women have had all of my sentient life, at least when it came to our government not intervening with our basic bodily rights. And then they wait for their chance to pounce, thanks to those conservatives who prefer to keep us under their thumbs so personally that we now even feel less safe with our own doctors than we did before. And now we've lost another place where we could feel safe, another nail in our coffin, more dirt over our grave. You bury us before we can live. After this overturning, after these trigger laws, after more and more cases where women were so subjugated, I wrote my testament outlining these injustices. I went to bookstores, bars, FM radio stations, even cafes in some of the most repressive states in these United States, told my story, and I thought I was making a difference. I thought I could write it all down, put it on a book, put it on a shelf, and feel like I'd accomplished something. But have I? I can share the news of what these laws have done to people of all genders, races, and classes. Then what? Just sharing the news of the offenses when they cannot reach the ears of those who choose to not listen? This makes me ask, what progress have I made? If we protest and no one is there to hear it, then what are we accomplishing? Writing until our fountain pens run dry, scratching until we lose our fingernails, until our fingertips are sore and bloody, to uncover these truths and scratch out the error of their ways, or screaming our protests out into the wind until we feel our voices are all but lost? How are we making a difference? I know I keep asking these questions, but my futility in getting answers forces me to end my questions with periods, and these questions become statements of fact. So, after all I've seen, and after all the changes that have happened, and with more pronounced and more violent laws, and seeing the real effect of the execution of these pro-life laws, when pro-life is the most ironic term I've ever heard. Their stance doesn't support life, it only represses half the population instead. But after seeing these changes, I am loath to say that even though they took our rights away, our only chance is to fight to take it back any way we know how. I've seen the people rioting. I've seen the protests. I've seen the marches with people holding posters high in the air. I've seen the articles. I've seen the books. And it still seems, after all this time, that our resistance is futile. But what choice do we have? Because we can't give up. Who knows? Maybe someone, someday, will eventually listen.
John, am I getting you?
I am hearing you, John McMullen. Awesome, awesome, and thank you. I'm seeing applause. Thank you, guys. Or triple plus awesome. That was a long poem, which is why I'm only doing one. Is in the current issue of cc&d magazine, Before Locked Doors. If it feels like you are walking into an abyss because it seems so 3D, I hope it works. But anyway, but it's not only in this, but it's also in the newly released CyberWit book, The Universe is in Your Hands. Whose hands? Yours! Your hands, people. Hi, and thank everybody for the live feed reading. I'm just going to do one reading and leave it at that. I might butt in and do periodic table stuff in the middle of the open mics. Who on earth knows? But if, yay, Jonathan McMullen, Zoom host, he's finally got it. I can see you, my darling. If you are ready to go, then following you would be Ron. Oh, I'd love to hear some music. So, because Poetic license means you can share anything creatively, you guys are triple plus awesome that way. So, if you are ready, darling John, I'd love to hear you because we can hear you on your monitor. You can take it away.